So back with an Orioles update, my last full team update. It's been a little bit real life time wise, but it was back in May of 2025, and the team was right around 500. And then I had my draft update, and now we are in July of 2025. Haven't been updating as much lately, haven't had as much time, and also with the real baseball season going, a lot of my, I guess the roster building part of my brain is engaged in fantasy baseball. So once I'm done trying to win my fantasy baseball leagues, I'll probably be updating this team more regularly, but I'm still here, haven't given up on them. Although things are not great, 48 and 48, around 500, and again, this team was predicted to win the division. You know, we're right in the middle of our contention, our window of winning that we built towards the first couple of years I took over the team, and this has been a disappointing year so far. And so, what has been the problem? It's similar to last time, injuries and pitching. So, if we go look at this injuries page, it's pretty brutal. Jason Rosario, who is our star center fielder, leadoff hitter, probably the best all around player on the team, great fielder, hits well enough to hit leadoff for us. He has missed the last month. He was out with, what was his injury again? A sprained ankle, and he's supposed to miss about 3 weeks, ended up missing a little bit more. He's now just went out on rehab, so he's going to end up missing about a month total, maybe a little bit more once his rehab assignment's done. So then middle of the order bat, Ryan Mountcastle just went out about a week ago, and he's out for another 4 to 5 weeks. He was off to my offense has actually been pretty good, but he was off to the worst start of his career. And then, of course, starting catcher Adley Rutschman, who hasn't been as dynamic offensively the last year or two. It's still a great defensive catcher. Three really important dudes here. Rutschman has missed he broke his arm or fractured his arm, and he's missed a month, and he's out for another 2 weeks. So those three injuries, really hard to overcome that. And then if we check out the info page here, as you can see, runs scored, we're second. We're first in hits. We're second in on base. We're second in slugging. Really, really good offensive year overall from the team, despite some, a guy like Mountcastle and a couple other guys kind of underachieving, some career years too. But then the starting pitching is just still an issue. Starters ERA 5.01, 13th in the AL. Bullpen was strong early, but has faded 4.25, and so we are 11th in the AL in runs allowed. Some of that I think is defense. Our defense has not been that great. I'm sure the Rosario injury doesn't help, the Mountcastle injury doesn't help, and the Rutschman injury doesn't help. All three pretty good fielders, and I've got some guys playing at places that aren't their primary position, but certainly something that moving forward I'll look at. Generally, I try to have really good fielding teams. It bothers me more than most things about my team when it's bad as fielding, just because it's a fundamental component to having a winning team in out of the park and real baseball to an extent too. So, anyways, now the question becomes here at 48 and 48, and going back to the standings, seven. So we're having 7.5 out of the division, but only 3 games out of the wild card with a couple teams treated. So all it takes is a little hot streak. We won 3 in a row, but all it takes is a little hot streak and we're right back in it. But the question becomes, do we kind of retool this year and not punt on it, but not really go for it, or do I go for it? And the reason why it's a decision is because, as you remember, last year I lost Verdugo, Marquez. I decided not to sign either of them long term, and I've got some other guys who are in the final years of their deal, and I'm not sure I'm going to re-sign them, and I can't just keep bleeding talent without getting things back for them. So, those guys are Jordan Hicks is an ace bullpen guy. I could probably deal him and be fine still this year, not have that big of an impact. Same with Jack Flaherty. He's got an opt-out, but he's making 24.2 the next 2 years. But he's come over and he put up 2.7 WAR last year, and he's only on pace for 1.8 WAR this year. He missed some more time again, injured this year. And so the question becomes, well, it's not really a question. I don't want to pay him this $24.2 million. So I guess the question is he going to opt out? I wouldn't if I were him with how his last 2 years have gone. So then I'm dealing him this season, which he hasn't been great, but my major league team might not get better. It might get worse, in fact, with dealing him away. So that's the decision. And then the two big decisions are Gio Urshela, who is 33 and having just an awesome year, 138 runs created plus. But at 33, almost 34 years old, he wants a 7-year, $21 million deal. 0% chance I sign him to that. he's not going to necessarily go for that, but he's probably not going to be back. And Tommy Edman is a guy who I thought at the beginning of the year I'd probably bring back on a short-term deal. Going into the season, he wanted a 2-year, $10 million extension. I figured I'd probably work it out after the season or during the season, depending on how things were looking. But as you can see here, he's posted a 145 OPS plus, and his career high before this in limited time in his rookie season 128. But then since then, 113, 108 last year in his first year here, 101, and then he's at 145. His BABIP is a career high 380, which indicates probably a lot of luck involved in this career year. While he's still a good player, right? He's probably still about a 3-win player. He's on pace to put up almost 6 wins, and he now wants to get paid like it. So he wants to get paid 7 years at $22 million per year with a opt out after year 5. He's not going to get that on the open market, but he's not just a utility guy or a starting lineup guy that you can plug in all over the place and he makes $10 million a year. He's affordable. He's no longer that guy. He's eating up a lot more payroll than that now. So can I afford to lose him for nothing? Not really, but do I want to trade him when I might have a chance to still make the playoffs this year? Not really as well. So decision to make there. And really the problem here is that a few years ago, it looked like I was going to have an offensive core of Mountcastle, Larnack, Matan, Rutschman. They're all guys who are still here. And for different reasons, they're all fine and they're all solid, but none of them have sustained their kind of all-star level they've shown for like one season. Not a single one. It would be helpful if like one of them, just became that perennial all-star / MVP candidate some years, etc. But none of them have been able to maintain a ceiling that high. And while they're still fine pieces, having those 4 as my core, you don't have a star really among them right now, although they're all still capable of it. So that's kind of the issue, and also why, what do I do with Edman and Urshela, because they're my 2 best offensive players at this point, with the major pieces of my long-term core struggling. Of course, I have Rosario too, who I brought in this year. So those are kind of the things that I'm thinking through. Can I retool this year? I'm not going to sell everybody, but I could get rid of some of these guys I'm going to lose for nothing and kind of retool and come back next year. I did make one move to kind of move in that direction. If we go to my transaction log here, so I traded Nick Anderson, was a guy pitching the back end of my bullpen on a 1-year deal. Really good reliever, but gone after the year. And then 2 prospects who I don't really expect much from. They were having career years, but don't have very high ceilings. And then Luis Castillo had been with me for a while. As you can see, I traded for him in 2021. He was kind of the first guy I traded for, and I started stocking up on talent like a year before my winning window opened. I started stocking up on guys. But he was a free agent after the year, and so I didn't want to lose him and Nick Anderson for nothing. So I traded for Mitch Keller, who's a solid number 3 starter for me probably, and he's under contract for 2 more years. So it basically gives me some stability in the rotation. Castillo is a free agent. I was going to lose him. Flaherty's probably gone. I lost Marquez last year. So Keller can come in, give me some stability, and I don't really lose that much this year. So, he's at least as good as Castillo. And I gave up a bullpen piece too and some prospects, but those were all thrown. So as you can see, he's a 2 to 3 win guy per year. So I'll take that for a couple of years in the middle of my rotation. And he's a ground ball pitcher. So that's kind of the type of moves I might make if I make moves is, all right, let me trade these guys for guys who are under team control for longer, right? And some of them might not be as good as the pieces I'm giving away. Keller, I think is, but I had to throw in a lot more. So we'll see. Those are the kind of trades I would probably make if I were to trade Edman or Shell and all those guys. I might also guess prospects in the high minors. I don't have a lot of good hitting prospects in the high minors, so I could always go that direction too. So now that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of roster strategy and roster building. Not quite sure what direction I'm going to go. I would think I'm probably going to retool and deal away those guys and maybe not totally abandon this year, but kind of look to next year more so than this year. Just to go over what is happening this year in terms of the players. Edman and Urshela, obviously the 2 best hitters I've got right now. Reese Albert, though, made the All-Star team. In 76 games, he's got a 127 runs created plus, 2.4 WAR. This is his rookie year, and he, if he played 162 at this pace, which he won't play that many games, he'd put up 5 WAR, which, that's awesome. So he was a first-round or no, third round pick my first year. So he's really blossoming. Hopefully he can keep that up and he doesn't have a 1 year monster year and then level off like so many other guys. Nick Matan, good bounce back year for him, former rookie of the year and MVP candidate. He's put up a 121 runs created plus in 62 games. Austin Hayes having a good year. Trevor Larnack, again, this is one of the issues here is, a 106 OPS plus. It's just above league average, but he's a DH. I need my DH with like a 120 OPS plus minimum. So, and as you can see, his first year is 128, then a 142 OPS plus, and then 106, 106. So he's been 6% above league average for a season and a half now. He's 28. I don't know. I guess maybe is he not like a foundational piece for the next 4 years? He sure hasn't played like it lately, and so that's he's kind of symbolic of like what's going on with my team right now. Like he was great for 2 years, and now he's not terrible, but he's not amazing. And then Grenier and Bowser both getting some playing time and about league average in utility roles. They fill in for injuries. Both solid. Bowser's young and I think has a decent future as a second baseman or really can play all over the diamond for me. Fabian's been fine in a limited role. Gunnar Henderson, pretty disappointing so far. He's really up and down. He's on pace for about 2 WAR. He's 12% below league average with the bat, which isn't terrible if he was a Gold Glover, but he's not. He's solid defensively, but he's not a Gold Glover. So hopefully he can show some growth here in the second half. He's my shortstop at least for this year, and then we'll see. He's so young, and my scout thinks he's great, and he tore it up in the minors, so we'll see. And then catching, nothing going on hitting-wise with Rutschman out. Over to the pitching side, Asa Lacy, sort by WAR here. Keller, obviously, all that was with Pittsburgh. But Asa Lacy, he's having a solid year. He's on pace for 3.4 WAR, but last year, he won Cy Young and Rookie of the Year and put up 6.8 WARs. ERA is almost 2 runs higher. His FIP is, about 1.1 runs higher. He's striking out about the same amount of people, but he's walking almost one guy more per 9. And he's getting killed by the long ball, which can definitely happen with fly ball pitchers in Camden Yards. So we'll see. That might have been a career year for him, but he's still a solid, he's still pitching at the level of like a solid number 2, great number 3 starter this year. So hopefully he can turn it around here and get back to ace form. So going down here, and then Livian Delgado is the number 11 prospect in baseball. I just called him back up in his first start, 6 innings, 2 runs. Overall, he's been a little uneven for me, but he's probably going to get the chance to start and kind of prove himself this year. So I think he's got a huge future ahead of him. Mitchell Stone is a young pitcher. Well, actually, he's not that young anymore. He's 27, but this is his first year. He's getting like a real full shot with me, and he's put up 1.7 WAR in 61 innings. So he's on pace to pitch 29 games, 12 starts, 103 innings, 2.9 WAR. I mean, if you put up that pace for 200 innings, you're putting up almost a 6 WAR season. So he's been awesome. He's been a bright spot. I think he's pitching a little over his head right now, but probably a solid back-end rotation piece for me, it seems. Then over the bullpen, Feltman has been my best reliever the last couple of years, and he's been pretty bad. A lot of it's bad luck. His FIP is 3.48 with a 5.30 ERA, so a lot of bad luck. Luke Little made the All-Star team. He's a bright spot this year for sure. On pace for 99 innings, 2.6 WAR, which again is, a 5 WAR season if you're pitching 200 innings. But I like him better in the bullpen. Because of his lack of control, and he was in the rotation some, but he's just been lights out of the bullpen. So I like him as a back end bullpen arm. I got him in a trade from Seattle for a minor league outfielder about a year ago. And then Griffith, Griffith and Zabron are both guys who've been in my system who are fine as middle relievers. Burrows and Gilbo have both been fine. Burrows struggled a lot, and I took him out of a setup role, but he's settled down now some. And then DL Hall, of course, has been my number 4 starter for a few years, but pitched himself out of the rotation. He was so bad. 5.56 ERA, and his FIP is actually identical. After, last year he had a 3.89 ERA and a 4.2 FIP. So his strikeouts have gone way down, his walks have gone way up, and not a good combination. So that's kind of where the team is at right now, kind of at a crossroads of what I'm going to do this year with guys like Urshela and Edman. And, I might make some more trades. I try not to trade a ton. Try to keep it somewhat realistic. I don't have like rules in place, but I think with where this team is at right now, it might be time to make some moves. I don't want to just stay stuck in neutral with this core. So we'll see if I can kind of retool a bit and come back better next year, or maybe I'll decide to go for it. I don't know. But I'll be back with another update here, probably after the trade deadline, which is only 2 weeks in out of the park time. Just to kind of recap what I decided to do because I'm actually not totally sure right now. All right, that's it.